This is Jacob's Algebra, Chapter 11, Lesson 3, Part 2, and we're going to finish off Problem 5K. We started with x plus 4 over x minus 4 minus x minus 4 over x plus 4. We had to get a common denominator, which we got by multiplying each fraction by the denominator of the other fraction. So then we multiplied everything out. We have x plus 4 times x plus 4, which is written here, and now we'll work that out. We have x squared plus 2 times x times 4 is 8x, and then we have a 16. And then we have minus, we're going to do this in parentheses. We have an x squared. 2 times x times 4 is 8x, and it's a negative. And then we have a plus 16. And this is all over x squared minus 16. Okay, so now what we can do is remove these parentheses here by flipping all of our signs. So we remove this parentheses. And this was a plus x squared, so this minus makes it a negative. This was a negative, so we make it a positive. This was a positive, so we make it a negative. Okay, so let's see how that works out. We have x squared minus x squared. That's 0. We have 8x plus 8x. That's 16x. And then we have a plus 6. 6? No, that's a plus 16. I'm sorry. This is a 16 here. This should be a 16 here. We have a plus 16 and we have a minus 16. So that's 0. All over x squared minus 16. So this works out to be, for 5K, 16x over x squared minus 16. Which is not the answer that I got before when I worked out 5K. Oh, because this isn't actually 5K. Okay, so what problem did I actually work out? This is 5L. I am so sorry. This is 5L that I was working out here. So we get 16x over x squared minus 16. Sorry, I wrote down the wrong part number. This is number 5, part L, not number 5, part K. So now I'll do number 5, part K, because clearly that's the one that I intended to do next. And I wrote down part L instead. Okay, so number 5, part K is x over x plus 1. And then we're going to add x over x minus 1. Okay, so to get our common denominator, we're going to have to multiply our two denominators. So we have an x plus 1, so we need to multiply this by x minus 1 over x minus 1. And for this one, we will have to multiply by x plus 1 over x plus 1. So now we will have a common denominator of x plus 1 times x minus 1. And when we look at this first one, we multiply this out. We have x times x minus 1. X times x is x squared. X times negative 1 is negative x. X times x is x squared. And x times 1 is a positive x. Okay, so we have an x squared and an x squared. That's 2x squared. And then we have a negative x and a positive x, that's 0. And then this is all over x plus 1, x minus 1, which we can multiply out to x squared minus 1, because we have the sum of two terms multiplied by the difference of two terms, and that will give you the difference of two squares. Okay, so that was number 5, which is just like number 8 that I assigned as homework. The last thing we're going to do is look at number 6. Number 6 says write each of the following as an integer or as a single fraction in simplest form. So we're going to start off by looking at part B, which is x plus y over y plus x minus y over y. First thing you do when you have fractions is check to see if you have a common denominator. We do. We have y and we have y. They're exactly the same. That means we can write this as a single fraction. So we're going to copy our first numerator, x plus y, and then we're going to add our second numerator, x minus y. And when we do that, we get x plus x is 2x, y minus y is 0, and then we copy our denominator, we have 2x over y. So that is 6b. Now let's look at 6 C. We have y over x plus y, and then we are adding y over x minus y. Okay, to get a common denominator, we're going to have to multiply by the opposite denominator. So we have x plus y. We're going to have to multiply by x minus y over x minus y. And the x minus y, we have to multiply by x plus y over x plus y. So you can see our first fraction is being multiplied by the denominator of the second fraction, and the second fraction is being multiplied by the denominator of the first fraction. Okay, so we can write this with a common denominator. X minus y times x plus y is just going to be x squared minus y squared. Now let's look at what we get up top. We have x times y is xy. We have negative y times y, and that's negative y squared. We have y times x, and that is xy. And then we have y times y, which is y squared. Okay, so when we try and add this all up, we have xy and xy, that is 2xy. And then we have a negative y squared and a positive y squared, that is 0. And we are going to divide this by x squared minus y squared. And that is our answer to part C. Now we're going to do just one more part from number 6. Let's do number 6, part E. This is y minus x over x minus y minus x over y. Again, on this part, we have different denominators, and what we're going to do is multiply each fraction by the opposite denominator. So we have an x over here, we're going to multiply it by the y. So times y over y. We have a y over here, we're going to multiply it by the x, times x over x. Now let's see what we have. xy is going to be our new denominator. On the left, we have y times y is y squared. We have y times negative x is negative xy. We have negative times y times x, that's negative xy. We have negative times negative x, which is going to make a positive x, times x, so that is x squared. Okay, so now let's take a look at what we have here. We have y squared minus 2xy plus x squared over xy. Okay, so can we actually simplify that? We really can't. We could factor our numerator as y minus x quantity squared. We could write it like this, y minus x squared over xy, but that doesn't really do anything for us, so we can leave it in this form because changing it to factored form doesn't do anything to help us, but factoring it doesn't hurt anything either. So that was number 6, which is just like number 9 that I assigned as homework.